Hello, this is Lance Wolf, and this is Ironwolf Productions. This is the M-43 Magnetic 4/3. The inspiration for this design, or I should say, this is the last of a set of three background vehicles I did for my novel Magnesium Bow back in 1991. And the inspiration for this vehicle, as many of my other vehicles, were always to try to have some little neat twist of sci-fi type design, like have it run on hydrogen, water. This one, I wanted a momentum engine, and I wanted a type of industrial design that looked like it was a kit that you would just form, buy this thing in pieces. And at the time, I was thinking of doing three separate vehicles based on a rat rod in different stages. And what I wanted in each vehicle was a momentum engine run on magnets, having liquid hydrogen to cool the magnets and having an air conditioner. So the vehicles had to consist of visible magnets sticking out of the engine, coolant pipes or tanks, and then this air conditioner mounted. But it became, because of parts, the cardboard and the parts that I had were limited at that time to make all three of them look the same. So it became easier to make a nice industrial design that could be ripped apart into several designs. The vehicle had to have certain attributes, and it had to look functional as industrial design would be. And I'd read something somewhere once about industrial design. I tried to put so much into this one vehicle. All industrial products are a result of a design process, but the nature of the process can take many forms. It can be a combination or conducted by an individual or a large team. It can emphasize intuitive creativity or calculated scientific design making, and can be influenced by factors as varied as materials, products, processes, business strategy, or the prevailing social, commercial, or aesthetic attitudes. And those were all the levels I was trying to put into this one thing. So when you'd see these background vehicles, you would see the world that they come from. And this vehicle wasn't made to be comfortable. It has forward shocks, which means it can take instead of the car leaning from side to side the way cars are today, this kit had to exude, or not exude, but it looked from the world it comes from. And so the shocks in the front, which means that the front gear can take bumps and the back bounces up and down. So it wouldn't be a comfortable car, but it had to be a vehicle that looked like it was a kit and something that would be used in these strange outer frontier villages. Well, I don't want to give away too much of the story, but the concept was I wanted it to look like a functioning design of industrialization, from kind of like not a post-apocalyptic view, but just something that looked like the car had been put together as a kit. And what really helped influence this design was my forehead VCR at the time. It was my first VCR, so I could watch The Empire Strikes Back. And as that VCR gave up, the buttons off the VCR became this momentum engine for me. And the Magnetic 4/3, the name came out of how many buttons I had, because I had 4 smaller buttons and 4 bigger buttons. And so that was how the name came about. And I imagine these magnets running this momentum engine with these cooling pipes down the side full of liquid nitrogen, always frozen. And this is what helped design. Well, actually, the parts is what helped develop the vehicle. So once I put together where was I going to put the tanks, the air conditioner, the one pilot, and trying to look like that the pilot would have this captain's chair with all this other extra mechanism for environmental uses and whatever the vehicle runs on. But I assume this momentum engine would have to have liquid coolant and the magnets. And so it became, one vehicle became many. And that way I could pull it off. Later on, I put lights on it, and I wish I would have marred up the lights a little to make it look more rough and beat up. But again, this is one of 3 of an original set of 3 that were done for just purely for background vehicles. And I tried to put so much into these background vehicles. And this was a fun one because, again, it was also one that I didn't do any artwork for. It was purely just going on what I had. The one thought I had was to come up with a rat rod. And so the whole thing just grew out of that and the buttons off my VCR. And just keeping that one image in my mind, it became a nice free-flowing design in the sense that it was just, I made it up as I went along. So it became a real thing of sculpture and a myriad of mat board and cardboard to do it. And I wish I had built, if I were to build it today, I would have done it a little differently, so I could have at least pulled the top of the body off the cockpit, because the cockpit, one of the windows dropped in. Again, this model goes back to 91, so it's fragile, and one of the windows fell in, and I had to drill a very small hole so that I could put a toothpick into the plastic so I could pull it towards me to glue it back into place. And so it's a very delicate model, and what's irritating is that in none of the videos can you see the steering mechanism that went into the front wheels. There was a great deal of engineering in the front end of this cardboard wonder to make it turn back and forth, and I tried to make everything I could look like this momentum engine generates electricity, or just, you know, the point was a momentum engine, and the parts and whatnot dictated this entire piece, and it's one of my more ambitious pieces. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I've gotten the point across of how much I've tried to put industrial design into the works that I do. Thank you so very much for listening to this, and thank you for indulging me. I'm Lance Wolf.